just another little question. Like
Sure.
in this process, like especially in these problems that you mentioned, it, how much you think that your college helped you to solve that? Like if you could do another college instead of the college that you did, do you think that you have like less problems or have more or could easily solve
Be
your the
easier.
same, yeah, could
Yeah,
solve your problem?
um, I don't. I'm certainly an advocate for education. I think that its application being an entrepreneur is limited. Um, I think I never took classes like this. I never took something that was about entrepreneurialism. See, even I
Yeah,
can't.
yes, especially this
And
because I asked it.
I do think that understanding some of that would probably have helped me. And honestly, in some ways, I mean, it's 5 years ago, which isn't that long, but it kind of feels like forever ago. I can, almost, it's hard to even remember the feelings at the beginning. Um, I would say that the thing that might be, and maybe this is what you guys are studying, but I wish I'd gone deeper on just learning from other people's mistakes and learning some of the common best practices. So, there's just a huge amount written about how to start a company and what can go wrong. And, some of that stuff is useless, and you're going to make your own mistakes no matter what. And it's not unique to your business, but there's some things that just everyone's going to go through some version of it. And I do think that stuff is helpful, and I wish I'd embraced it more.
Clinton, you said that when you left college, your first graduation, you traveled a lot and you changed between jobs. So I wanted to know what was the experience that you got from that time valid in your entrepreneurship route? Did it help you to change jobs and to travel to become an entrepreneur afterwards?
I think so. I mean, I think that it's like you don't know the chicken and the egg. I think that on some level, the type of person who wants to go and travel and explore is the same type of person who's drawn to being an entrepreneur. And it is important to be this weird combination of flexible, which traveling and dealing with new situations helps, but also looking out for yourself and feeling confident and those sort of things, because that's important too. And I think it probably helped me to have that time. And look, I just wouldn't have been ready. I think I just needed more life, and it took me a little longer to get there than some people. So for me, I wouldn't change it, certainly.
That's great. And also, in the US, we see that there is this crashing student debt. And I wanted to know if you think that this whole process of having to take debt to go to college in the US is harmful for people to leave college and become entrepreneurs because they're sort of trapped to have to go to high paying jobs after college. What do you think of it?
100%. I mean, I think, despite doing what I did after college, I was always paying a student loan. So I always had to save enough money to try and pay my student loans. And my student loans from law school made my college student loans look like nothing. So, I think it was valuable for me to come out and work in a much more corporate, high-paying job. I think it helped me be an entrepreneur, but I had no choice, literally. And I think maybe I would have looked at the world differently. I was in California. I graduated law school in 2011, right? I think in a different world, I would have moved from, I was in on the other side of the bay in San Francisco. I would have moved to San Francisco and tried to find a job in a startup if I didn't, have to pay X number of thousands of dollars a month to my student loans. So I definitely think it stifles it.
Yeah. So, what type of analysis did you conduct to see if your business plan would be profitable?
It's a good question. So I did some we did some financial modeling, looking at what are our revenue streams going to be, what do we think our expenses are going to look like, how many people are we going to have to hire, and I will say that all of that stuff is total junk. I mean, I guarantee if we pulled out what we did then, it would be not worth anything. It just will have no relationship to now. But I think it's important to do some of that for two reasons. One is it's a good exercise of forcing you to think about how your business is actually going to run. Not just thinking about the idea, but also thinking like, okay, to have this idea, we need someone who is going to be in sales, and they're going to need to be paid this way. And we're going to need, if it's an internet company, we're going to need this number of engineers to build it, and it's going to take that long. And until that's built, if the product takes longer, then we're going to need more money to make sure they get paid. All that stuff, you'll be wrong, but it's valuable for the way it makes you think. And the other thing is just for going out and trying to pitch people and get other people invested in your idea. I think they know that those numbers pretty early on are also kind of made up, but they want to see your thinking. And so it's important for that reason too. I think thinking a little bit more about like the market opportunity is the bigger thing early on. And then as you go later and you raise, if you raise money again and again, then it becomes much more of an exercise in results and financial modeling. Like for us, it's very important, like how much does it cost us to go acquire a customer, and how much, what's our revenue per customer? And if we have a big gap between those two numbers, then we can convince someone that they should give us money to go out and acquire customers, because it's going to lead to more revenue than it costs us. And that's really, that's an important thing you get to. But until you actually have business, those numbers are just pure guesses. So it's something you'll go through at every step, but just becomes more and more important along the way. And I'll say, like, to things that I didn't really at the beginning, like my skills on that front were non-existent. My partner had good financial modeling skills, but not strong on financial sense, I would say. So, we had to figure it out. And then later you get people who have more specialized skills who help with it.
Can I ask just a little question that means something about the same? It's like, once you thought about create your own business, probably dozens of other people already were doing exactly the same thing that you do now. And probably less than now, but even that time, probably a lot of people already was doing that. And how you thought about that time, like, I can't do it just this. To have success, probably I need to do something different. Did you think about this that time? Like, I will do this different, I will do exactly the same if this guy does, or something like that? Like, how you thought about differentiate yourself between everybody?
And I think it's something that I wish I thought more about the importance of it when we first started. I think that we were actually late to start. There were already a few companies that had received a lot of funding doing a very similar thing. And, we had some differentiation from them. But, in hindsight, not enough really. There's a little bit of two lessons with it, because on the one hand, I think if we had been earlier, right, where you have differentiation just by being one of the first, at least in the US, that's a really important for, to come back to the money piece again, that's really important for attracting investor capital, because, the way that professional investors are thinking about this is, we want to fund someone at the start, and our money is going to let them take a lead. And then they're going to have, you know, that lead's going to grow because they have more resources, and then we'll fund them again, or someone else will, and then their lead will grow even more, and they can just build market share, and that's going to keep out competitors. So we miss that, and it's made the process of attracting money much harder than it would have been if we'd, you know, been in that first couple companies. So definitely really good to think about. On the other hand, like of those, you know, 3 companies that received major funding at the start, one went out of business 2 years ago, and we almost bought their assets out of bankruptcy. And, you know, one of them went really sideways in terms of growth. They're still a good business, but their investors are never going to make the return they thought. So, you know, that lead thing, it helps, but it's not a determiner. But definitely think about, you know, what is our value to the customer, right? Like, how do we differentiate the value to the customer? Because you can get in your head about other ways to differentiate, but at the end of the day, it's customer, customer, customer.